welcome to Moments Off the Mat. I'm Taylor Miller. I'm joined today by Cody Goodwin. He's a sports reporter for the Des Moines Register. He covers wrestling and high school sports, as well as Mike Willis, the USA Wrestling Communications Coordinator. So thanks, guys, for joining. Today we're just going to kind of go over, we're going to preview Beat the Streets as well as the Nittany Lion versus the King duel this weekend. So just a little background, Beat the Streets starts tomorrow, Thursday. It's a telethon, so part one is at 6 p.m. It'll be free. That part will be free on Flow Wrestling. It'll be hosted by Sally Roberts, Jaden Cox, Helen Willis, Jordan Burrows, Ben Askren, Henry Cejudo, Justin Gaethje. So that's free on Flow at 6 Eastern. And then at 7:30 Eastern is the competition. It'll be men's and women's freestyle. A subscription is required to watch that part. And then on Saturday, we've got Nittany Lion Wrestling Club is putting on an event with a bunch of Cliff King wrestlers as well as some others. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern on Saturday on Rockfin. A subscription is also required for that one. So USA Wrestling will be covering both of those events, so you can follow along on our website for information. So anyway, moving forward, Cody, Mike, wrestling is back. You guys excited?
Woo! I am so excited. You guys have no idea.
Yeah. Cody, you've been itching to cover wrestling. I know I've talked to you several times over the last 6 months. So
I feel like I trade texts with you at least once a week, or at least once a month, even just like, hey, like U23 senior nationals coming to Coralville. Like, what's the move for Fargo? Like, I don't know, when you're so used to a certain schedule, and I know this was supposed to be a huge year for everybody, right? With the Olympics and NCAA championships were supposed to be in a football dome, and, just getting excited about Fargo and junior cadet duels and all that fun stuff. It's, you get that taken away and then it all comes back and it's like, yes, so excited.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mike, you just got off of vacation. So you go from vacation right into wrestling events. That is,
it's basically like more vacation, right? It's just, the fun keeps coming. And yeah, we've been doing our matches of the day and our throwback Thursdays and all that, but to be able to see some really good live wrestling is just really exciting and something I'm looking forward to. And both these cards are killer, so should be a really great weekend of wrestling.
Yeah, so let's get to the cards. First up, Beat the Streets. I'm just going to read through this lineup really fast. I'm not sure if this is the order. I'm going to assume that it is, but Jack Mueller versus Rustin Ampar? I'm not actually sure. Emily Shelson, she was supposed to take on Felicity Taylor, but now Felicity is pulled out. It'll be Charlotte Fowler. Gable Steveson versus Trent Hilber. Victoria Francis versus Alex Claudette. Joe Colon versus Seth Gross. And the main event, Yanni Diakomahalis versus Vladimir Kinchegashvili from Georgia. So, Cody, initial reactions when you saw this card?
I love this card. There's a lot of variety, right? We get some women's freestyle matches. We get some, guys who are normally, who are still in college with Gable and Trent Hilber, and then we get, Yanni too. He's still at Cornell. We get some, seasoned senior level guys like Joe Colon, Seth Gross. And we get some international flavor too with guys from Georgia, and then Rustin Ampar. I hope I'm pronouncing that one correctly too. So a lot of variety, lot of talent, on this card. And that's super exciting for, an event that's just really trying to raise wrestling's profile. Why not stick a bunch of, credentialed wrestlers on a card to help bolster that profile? So I really like this card. I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, me too. And I think, what I like about the card is they're matches that I might not necessarily have picked off the top of my head that I want to see. But then when you see them on paper, you're just like, wow, those are really good matches. Maybe it's not the 1 and 2 guy, but it's like, holy cow, these guys are going to be contenders for Olympic spots, and they're going at each other. These ladies are some of the top wrestlers in the country, and very well could be in the Olympic team trials finals. Come next April. So I'm absolutely stoked, and I think Beat the Streets did a great job putting together a really intriguing card.
Yeah, Mike, you'll be there tomorrow. What matchup are you looking forward to the most?
Lucky dog.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Undisclosed location. But I really can't wait to see Joe Colon and Seth Gross. I think they're like, this is the like somebody please eat a sandwich match because they're two of the biggest 57 kilogram guys you'll see. I don't even think in 2016, I think Cologne wanted to make a run at 57 and then did not because he couldn't get his body in shape for it. So I'm really excited about that one. Gross looked like an animal at the Bill Farrell. He was fantastic, and he ran the gauntlet. He beat Cruz, who's on the national team. He beat Soriano, who's got a win over Cologne. And then he beat, in the finals, Tomasello, and he beat him handily. And he just looked like he kept getting better as the day went on. Cologne, obviously a world bronze medalist. And since he's gone down to 57, I think he's only competed at the Mateo Pelicon. But even there, he beat Misic, who, Cliff Keen guy wrestling for Serbia, who's an absolute, he's already qualified his weight class for the Olympic Games. He made a medal match at Worlds, and he's an Olympic medalist contender. So I think those are two guys, where it's not a stretch to say that they're both guys that could be looking to contend for Olympic medals. So, I'm very, very excited about that one.
Yeah, Cody, what's the one you're looking forward to the most?
Really looking forward to that one. Really looking forward to Yanni and Kenichishvili. But honestly, the Victoria Francis Alex Claudette match is super, super fascinating to me. Because I think it was at the senior national championships, they met in the semis, and it was like a weird scoreboard confusion thing where Francis ended up winning that match 3-2. So hotly contested match, little bit of history there. Maybe not a lot of animosity because they're all, they're tough competitors, but these are two really credentialed female wrestlers that are, I think 3-4 on the ladder at 68 kilos. Francis was a 2019 world teamer, made it to the bronze medal match. Glade's been in Final X before. They may not be at the top of the ladder, but they're two of the best that USA has. And so to get to see them wrestle again on a stage like this, to really kind of continue to elevate women's freestyles profile, that's got to be exciting. And I think that this matchup maybe needs a little bit more love than it's currently getting. So I'm really excited to watch it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, Alex is a U23 world bronze medalist. So they both have had quite a bit of success on the international level. So yeah, I think I echo everything that you just said, Cody. It's going to be really exciting. I do think that it deserves a lot more love than it's getting. So we can give it some love. Yeah.
I watched the senior nationals match, recently, kind of just giving myself a refresher. And it was an interesting match. So Francis was up 2-0, and she had scored on a step out and a passivity point. And then last, 30 seconds to the match, Claudette gets a takedown, right as a second passivity is expiring. So it was literally a bang, bang. And so Francis got the second passivity point to go up 3-2, but the board never reflected it. So Claudette thought she had got the takedown within time, but obviously had not. But it was a really good match. And, both of these wrestlers obviously are top tier defensively. So I think it's going to be cool to have them in an exhibition match where maybe they can open up a little bit more and kind of get to their offense more.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So let's just move on to kind of taking each match by match. We'll keep them a little shorter, but so our first matchup is Jack Mueller versus Rustam Ampar. Jack is a NCAA runner-up. He was a U23 world team member. Then he ended up finishing 5th. I think that was 2018. Yeah, 2018. Then Ampar, so he competes for Russia, 2009 junior world silver medalist, and he has a Uruguayan title and a Uruguayan silver. So thoughts on this matchup? Have you guys seen Rustam Ampar wrestle?
So I got to see him 2016-ish. He teched Dan Dennis, which is not an easy thing to do. So we know he's pretty good. He's a little bit older now, obviously, because that was back in 2016. I think that was the year he won the Uruguayan, or maybe it was the year he got to the finals. But he's got an electric style, wrestles a high pace, not afraid to throw out the big moves, which is going to be fun against a guy like Jack Mueller, who can do the same things in freestyle, right? He's obviously very credentialed, U23 world team. He You know, I mean, this is a guy that's not afraid to throw it out there. And you know, maybe there's a case that he's a stronger freestyle wrestler than he is folk style, even though he's had tons of folk style success. So I'm really looking forward to this matchup. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm really curious to see where Ampar's at because going through the United World Wrestling database, his most recent result was a 7th place finish at the President Cup of the Buryatia Republic in 2017. So like whenever you see something like that, you got to say, you know, where's this guy at? And we know that Mueller's with the NYC RTC, and you know his job right now is to be a freestyle wrestler. So I feel like knocking off 2 years of rust, and even 2 years of that where he might not have been at his top when he was competing. So knocking off a lot of rust, that seems like a pretty big mountain to overcome. But hey, he's Russian. He's got the Russian mystique factor to him. So you can't ever count those guys out. But yeah, it should be a really interesting match, and it should just be very interesting to see where Ampar is right now.
Sounds like a good opener too, because like you guys have said, it's interesting enough to be like, I'm not missing that one, So
yeah, nor do I know what's going to happen, nor do I want to say because who knows, right? So definitely wanted to catch some attention.
Yeah. So any predictions there from you guys?
I like Mueller. I'll go Mueller. Not by tech fall, by decision, handily, say like 9-4 or something like that.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Mueller too, but I bet you the first 2 minutes are gonna be like electrifying for Ampar, because I bet you that's again, not knowing where his gas tank is at, I think in those first 2 minutes we see some really cool stuff.
Sign me up.
All right, moving on. We have Emily Shelson.
Wait, Taylor, you got to make your pick.
I'm not making a pick.
Oh, come on.
Too many people that I'm cool with on these cards. I can't pick again. But Mueller.
There we go. Okay.
Next up, Emily Shelson. She's taking on Charlotte Fowler. That replacement just came in today, so day before notice on that one. Emily Shelson's a Cadet World champ, Cadet World silver. What else? Oh yeah, she was our first female to win Youth Olympic Games. And
she won 2 national tournaments last year.
Yeah, so I've been around her since 2017, and she's been so fun to watch. And so I'm always excited to see how she's grown too, because the difference between her 2017 Cadet Worlds and her 2018 Cadet Worlds was a silver and a gold, but it just seemed like her determination, because I saw her several times throughout the year in between that time, her determination and was just through the roof, and it was really cool, especially to see her come out on top. So yeah, Emily Shelson, she's taking on Charlotte Fowler. Charlotte was a U23 World Team member, and she has some college credentials as well for Campbellsville. So what are you guys' thoughts on this one? I know we just got the Charlotte Fowler news, so maybe not a ton of, what's the word? Analytics. Go on.
Not fully well-versed, because I think we were all super excited about Emily Shelson versus Felicity Taylor, especially here in Iowa. I know everybody here was amped to watch that.
Oh, yeah.
No, I really like Emily in this matchup. I mean, you rattled off her credentials, and it seems like she's been around for a while, but when you think about her senior level career, it's really only just getting started, which is a scary thought for the rest of the lightweight female freestyle wrestlers, as well as the rest of the world, right? Because it seems like she's been a world beater forever. She's quick on her feet. She can finish. She's got a mean gut wrench. I really like Emily in this matchup. Curious to see where Charlotte's at. Because she does have some past credentials as well, and that she's always a threat when you come out of the Campbellsville room. That's a really strong women's freestyle program. So super intrigued by this one, but I'm a big fan of Emily here, and I'm kind of excited to, I hope they hype her up just as much as some of these other matches, because, for a long time, I've kind of thought of her as the future, but the future is kind of now, right? Especially when it comes to women's freestyle wrestling. So this could be a big thing for her in terms of just gaining more exposure.
Totally. Agreed. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah. I'm going with Cody on this one too. Props to Charlotte for stepping up and taking this match on really, really short notice. One thing to consider might be I don't know how they're doing weigh-ins. I don't know, what catch weight is for this. So I think Charlotte's a little bigger than Emily, and that might be a factor. But like Cody said, like Cody laid out, and you laid out her credentials. Shelson is a beast, and I think it's going to be a tall order to stop her.
Yeah, agree with that. Moving on, Gable Steveson, Trent Hilber. They wrestled a few times in college. I think, if I went through it accurately, Gable has 3 wins over Trent in the past couple of years. So Gable, 2-time that world champ, 2017 junior world champ, and an All-American for Minnesota, whereas Trent is a 2019 All-American for Wisconsin. So thoughts there. Who wants to go first?
Mike, take the lead.
Yeah, I'll take the lead on this one. I mean, so it's funny because I think that right now we are seeing almost an unprecedented amount of talent in heavyweight. And I think, during any other time period, Hilber would be a bigger deal than he is because he's someone that came out as a redshirt freshman, an All-American, and, a grown man's weight class. That being said, Gable's world class and is going to be fighting for a spot on the Olympic team. And, if he makes it, an Olympic medal. So I don't think Hilger is at that pedigree just yet, and that's not a knock on him. I just think that Gable's one of the best guys in the world right now. And I think Hilger is going to have a really long, really good career in front of him if he continues to wrestle post-collegiately because, he's something special too. Again, I think he just gets overshadowed in a massively talented field right now.
No, I agree with you 100%. I've had this weird theory in my head that, if you go back a decade and you take all these heavyweights and you put them back in their recruiting processes, a lot of them might pick football. And now we're seeing all these incredibly crazy good athletes start to pick wrestling, and we're going to start seeing more of it coming up. I know Arizona State's Colton Schultz is coming out of redshirt this year. Oklahoma State's AJ Ferrari, Anthony too, I guess he's really good. There's just, in addition to, the guys like we've seen in past years, like Anthony Kassar, like Nick Gwizdowski, and then Gable Steven, Trent Hilger, are part of that group. And I'm with you. I think Gable is he's a little too quick, a little too strong, a little too good, just kind of better at wrestling than Trent Hilger. I think we've seen that. I think the last time they wrestled, it was only 10-5, but I think we all know that sometimes when we watch 10-5 matches, I think it was 5 takedowns for Gable, we know that, a 5-point decision might be a little wider than that score might suggest. So I like Gable in this match. Curious to see Trent Hilger wrestle some freestyle. Excited to watch Gable wrestle some freestyle because we know how good he can be there. These heavyweights can put on a show, and I think that's always a good time when they put on a show.
Yeah, agreed. And like you guys have said, we're in a really lucky time as far as NCAA wrestling when it comes to heavyweights because you throw in guys like Kirk Fleet, which we'll talk about him later, as well as Cassiope and a few others. A good time. Who would have thought? So
They're awesome.
So forward to watching heavyweight matches. Yeah.
No more Tony Nelson and Mike McMullen. We've got guys taking shots and going aerial, and it is so much fun to watch. And this is coming from a guy who wrestled 103 in high school. So that tells you how good it should be.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We've already kind of highlighted this match, but Victoria Francis and Alex Claudette, we gave their credentials earlier. Victoria Francis, 2-time world team member. Claudette is she's been on junior and U23 world teams, I believe, and she won a bronze in U23 in 2018. In a dramatic, outstanding fashion, being a 4-pointer at the end, which was awesome. They both have WCWA titles as well, and Claudette won the National Women's Collegiate Championship or whatever, however that is.
I've always called it the NCAA Women's National Championship.
There you go.
That's kind of what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. So she won that this year. So I know we've kind of already highlighted a little bit, but Cody, why don't you dive in a little more there?
Yeah, I mean, just 2 highly credentialed women's freestyle wrestlers. This one is going to be a lot more fun. And I really like Mike's point about it's an exhibition match. There's really not a whole lot on the line here other than just entertaining those who are watching. So I wonder if they both might open up a little bit more. And you wonder if Claudette still, again, just an exhibition match, but you wonder if Claudette still has the U.S. Senior National Championships result in the back of her head. Wrestlers talk a lot about, controlling what you can control and doing what you need to do to win a match. And, you know, now that she's got this 3-2 decision loss in the back of her mind, maybe she'll come out and she'll come out firing and maybe score and put some points on the board early and apply some pressure to Francis. And, you know, we could really see an entertaining back and forth match here. I'm very excited to watch this one.
Are you ready to say who you think can win that one, or are you still on the fence?
I want to hear what Mike has to say first.
Fair.
Well, I was going to say, on the flip side, Cody, I'm pretty sure it doesn't sit well with Victoria that she won a match and didn't score a takedown, and the only takedown in the match belonged to Claudette. So I think, you know, a couple, again, we don't really know what the weight procedures are going to look like, but I think, you know, with her dropping down to 68, a couple more months, or I guess at this point, like almost a year, I think she's going to be better adjusted to the weight class. And I think she's going to have something to prove as well. You know, current world team member coming down into a weight class with the reigning world champion in it, Samara Mensah-Stock. I think she's going to want to send a message that, you know, she's not just, you know, a non-Olympic weight world team member. She's someone that's going to contend for the Olympics. So I think I like Victoria in this one.
You convinced me. I think I like Victoria in this one too, but I think it'll be close.
It's bad. We gotta just pick other people, different people. We can't keep agreeing. It looks like
something tells me this next matchup might make everybody split a little bit, because who the heck knows what's gonna happen.
Completely. So next matchup, Joe Cologne, 2018 world bronze medalist, versus Seth Gross, 2018 NCAA champ and 2-time age group world team member. So go.
I'll start off with this one. So I think not having weigh-ins will, or again, I keep saying not having weigh-ins, or we don't know what they're doing with weigh-ins. There'll be like some sort of weigh-ins, but given that it's not going to be the strict, you know, day of, you need to come in at 57 kilograms, I think it's beneficial to both of them. But after watching Seth Gross at the Bill Farrell, he got stronger in every match. And, you know, in the finals, he beat Tomasello, and it wasn't particularly close. And it was, you know, every match he kept building and getting better and looking tougher. So I've got to think Gross. And that was when he was still competing in the folk style season, right? So now that he's had the ability to just train freestyle, you know, Cologne's a world caliber wrestler, right? He's already proven that. So, you know, it's going to be a tough win to gut out, but I think Gross has the ability to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you there that even during the folk style season, he made a really good habit of finding ways to gut out the tough matches, the close matches. I got to see him at the Midlands. I got to see him at the Big Ten Championships, various duels throughout the year. I mean, the guy knows how to win matches, right? And I am also really curious, you know, now that he's had all this time to focus strictly on freestyle, you know, how much is that going to help him? Because as similar as they are, there are small tendencies that, you know, you really need to put an emphasis on in freestyle if you really want to be good at it. That said, Joe Cologne, 2-0 all-time against Seth Gross. And I know that Seth Gross did a better job in the second match defending that chest rep and that gut wrench, which Joe Cologne is very, very good at. But Cologne still found a way to win that match too. And so I think I'm going Joe Cologne on this one. It sounded like you might be going Seth Gross, so this might be the one where we pick differently.
All right, Mike. So you got your money on Gross?
Yeah, I'll take Gross.
All right.
Difference.
All right, let's move on to the finale.
That's probably my biggest toss-up of the night, though. That's one that I wouldn't be surprised regardless of how it goes and regardless of what the score is on the scoreboard. Because I think you wrestle, I mean, most matches you wrestle 10 times, you get 10 different results. But I think the variety that you would see between those two is going to be a lot greater than what you'd see in some of the other matches.
We could potentially see like 30 combined points between these two. Like that's what makes it so cool. Like you don't know what's going to happen, right? Like they could throw each other around in the first period, or it could, you know, we could see a defensive clinic. I don't know yet. Like that's what makes it so fun.
Yeah. So for the finale, I'm personally very excited to watch this. I think anytime you get to watch Yanni wrestle, it's a treat, but anytime you get to watch him wrestle someone from a different country, it's even more fun. So we've got Yanni, a couple-time cadet world champ. Obviously, he final X runner-up last year, very close to making the world team. And then we've got Vladimir Kinchegashvili, world champ, Olympic champ, multiple-time world medalist as well. So, Mike, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I think we've got two guys on different trajectories in very different parts of their career. Kinchegashvili was an Olympic silver medalist in 2012 when Yanni was, still a kid, play wrestling. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was more credentialed at that age than I was my entire career. But I think, if you look at Kinchegashvili's recent results, I think he was a 2017 world bronze medalist. It's the last time he medaled at Worlds. He went 0-1 at Euros last year. Lost to a tough guy from Azerbaijan, but the guy isn't a senior world medalist. I think he was a U23 world silver. He lost to Muskayev at Worlds, who again is a really tough guy, but just earned his first senior world medal this year. So again, I know he's the reigning Olympic champion, but his results this quad have been, have shown that he's kind of on the downswing in his career. So I think I like Yanni in this match, and Americans always come to wrestle at this event. I mean, last year Yanni beat Bajram. A couple years ago, Jordan Oliver knocked off Askarov, who was an Olympic champion. So I think Americans really bring it. And again, I just think that Yanni is yet to hit his peak, although he's heading in that direction, while Kinchegashvili is kind of on the other side of that hill.
I fully agree with that. I think Kinchegashvili, when he won gold in Rio 2016, it was at 57 kilos. So he's coming up a weight class. He's coming into Yanni's weight class. I think we're all in agreement here that Yanni is, he may not have been on the world team last year, but he's very clearly one of the best in the world. I know that after his run at the US Open, I think there were, people overseas who were just like, oh, if that dude makes the team, US might finally have, an answer at 65 kilo. Cause I know that that's a weight that we've maybe been struggling at internationally over the last few years. That and more often than not every time, but more often than not, when Yanni's on a stage, beat the streets, like the NCAA finals, guy finds a way to come through and win. I mean, you mentioned Bajrang, he's won 2 very exciting NCAA finals the last couple of years. I think he gets it done here too. I think, it's been a while since we've seen Yanni compete. So I'm kind of excited to kind of see where he's at and maybe what he's learned since his loss to Zane in Final X last year. So I think it'll be exciting, but I'm with you. I like Yanni.
And is Kinchegashvili, do we know, is he in New York City? Was he training in the US or is he coming over from Georgia?
I thought he was coming over.
Okay.
I think part of the difficulty of getting that match to happen was, in the COVID world, could it actually happen? I'm not 100% on that though. Yeah,
same. Okay, so that wraps up Beat the Street. So again, that is at 7:30. The competition part is at 7:30 tomorrow, Thursday, Eastern Time, live on Flow Wrestling. You'll need a subscription, but you can tune in for the telethon at 6 o'clock for free. So moving on to Saturday night, we've got the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club hosting a duel, primarily against Cliff King Wrestling Club, but there's some other athletes in there as well. This one has 2 women's freestyle matches and then several men's freestyle because we got a few more today, actually. Not at all certain on match order on this one, so I'll just kind of start with the women's matches and then we'll just kind of go in to the men's freestyle matches. So just a quick rundown of the lineup. We've got Julia Salada versus Jane Valencia from Mexico. Desiree Zavala versus Jennifer Page. Those are our 2 female matchups. And then for our men's freestyle, we've got Nick Nevels versus Jordan Wood. Greg Kirkfleet versus Yusuf Amida. Thomas Gilman versus Darian Cruz. Zane Rutherford against Alec Pantalio. Jason Nolf against David Mcfadden, Kyle Snyder against Mike Machiavello, Bo Nickel versus Alex Deringer, which I'm assuming is probably the main event for that card. We've got a few more in today. It'll be Vincenzo Joseph versus Dan Balamont, Exad Abdurrahmana versus Logan Massa, Malik Amin versus Rick Durso, and Dominic Avenator versus Jaime Espinal from Puerto Rico. So that's our lineup. That's our card as of now, as of Thursday. So we'll just go right into it, guys. Initial thoughts when you saw the card. Mike, what'd you think?
Well, that's a lot of matches, and that's a lot of matches. So I think we've had some cards, during this down period, but I think this is, one of the most complete cards we've seen. And nickel versus ringer, like, come on, that's awesome. That's good stuff. And shout out to Rick Durso, because Rick Durso pinned me in high school. So my coach told me he was a JV kid, and he was not. He kicked my butt.
Must have been a pretty deep program if he was a JV kid, right?
Yeah, right. And then he went out in an exhibition match and he beat the kid up a weight class for me, who was pretty good, state place winner. And my coach was like, no, that wasn't the same kid. That was his twin brother. I was like, so like to see Rick do well.
Epic.
All right.
Epic.
Cody, what were your first thoughts on this card?
I love this card. I mean, it's kind of a who's who of talent, and just like Beat the Streets, it's got a mix of, some current guys, some guys who we know are coming up the pipeline, and some guys that have, already finished their NCAA careers and are now into their, their senior level careers at the freestyle side. How many NCAA titles has this card won? I mean, between Bo, Ringer, Kyle Snyder, Jason Null, Zane Rutherford, that's 12 right there. That's maybe more. I don't know. Maybe I can't count, and then there's
Cruz in there too. Yeah.
Cruz has won a title. Gilman was a 3-time All-American. It's kind of Chenzo won 2. Just insane amount of talent, which is fantastic for wrestling fans. And just like the idea in general that, these RTCs are starting to maybe dabble a little bit more in hosting events like this, and, bringing other RTCs or at least other wrestlers in to, help create matches and create excitement like this. Super awesome. And I'm curious to see how many more RTCs maybe follow after watching what goes down Saturday. I mean, I hope Rockfin has the bandwidth, because there's going to be thousands of people that are probably going to tune into this to watch it, if only, for Nickel and Ringer. But hopefully they stick around and watch all the other ones too. So here's hoping that stream survives, and I'm super excited for this.
Absolutely. So match you're most looking forward to, and for this one I will say you guys cannot pick the same one. So Mike, you will get to go first. You have the advantage here.
Man,
don't be wrong.
I feel like I'm cherry picking if I say Nickel versus Ringer, but that's that genuinely is what it is. But I'll defer, just say that one doesn't count. I'll say Kirk Vliet versus Hamida, because I think that's a really interesting match. Hamida was a 2018 U23 World Silver Medalist. Kirk Vliet, took 5th, I think, last year at the U23s, but obviously has had a ton of success at the cadet level and the junior level. So I think it's really, and it's interesting because you can't really call Hamida like an established guy either. He's still an up-and-comer. He's a guy that's kind of just hitting the senior ranks, but he's already got some senior experience under his belt. And I think, the common thought would be, Kirk Vliet's a guy that in the next cycle will be competing for world and Olympic teams. So, the thought would be he should handle Hamida. Maybe I'm totally off here. But I think Hamida's, again, a really tough guy, and he's got, the international hardware to prove it. So I'm really kind of curious how that one shakes out.
That's a good one. I like that.
I agree with you there. I'm going to go with Zane versus Pantalio. And that one's just, want to see where Pantalio's at down at 65 kilo. Well, we're presuming that they're, going to make 65 kilo, because I'm pretty, that's Zane's weight. But just the matchup itself is just super, super interesting to me. I mean, Zane, world teamer, right? Very fundamentally sound, has, I think, really taken strides, maybe because he knows Yanni's hot on his tail when it comes to, freestyle stuff. And he's got other guys that are going to be chasing him too, like Jordan Oliver and, some other guys that are coming through. But, Zane, very technically sound, super strong wrestler, very rarely out of position. But then, bringing a guy like Pantalio, who's super athletic, haven't seen a ton of freestyle out of him, but when you have to wrestle the majority of the match on your feet, that's a guy that can hit a few different moves, maybe score a few takedowns. You know, and if he's able to get to Zane's legs early and put some points on the board early, who knows what that match ends up looking like. I mean, Pantalio is going to, you know, he's always been a dangerous wrestler, but, you know, especially when it comes to freestyle, very curious to see how he matches up, just how he competes generally. I really like that match. I think it'll be closer than people think.
Yeah. Let's see. We did our first impressions. We did our matches that we're most looking forward to. I will tell you what match I'm really looking forward to is Julia Salada and Jane Valencia. So Jane recently qualified Mexico for the Olympics at the Olympic qualifier in March. She's the first woman from Mexico to go to the Olympics in wrestling. So I don't know if she's actually going, if there's a trials process. I imagine there's a trials process, but she has qualified Mexico for the first time in the history of women's wrestling, which I think is really exciting. And she was really electric at Pan Am's in Canada. And so she was super fun to watch. And then Julia is always like stay ready and got to get ready kind of person. So I'm actually really interested to see, because this was kind of short notice as well. Julia was a replacement on this card. So I think that's going to be really exciting. And Jane trains with Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, so she's got quite the coaches in her corners. That's one of the matches that I'm most looking forward to. I hope it's not an opening match because I wouldn't want people to miss it. I hope it's somewhere kind of mixed within the card, so that a majority of viewers are already there watching, because I think that one will be really exciting. So that's my one I'm looking forward to. Okay, so let's just run through it. Obviously, there's a lot of matches versus the last one, so we can just kind of keep these kind of quick and just tell me, you know, who you think will win and why. So we'll start with Salada and Valencia. Mike, what are your thoughts here?
I'm going to take Salada. I don't, being a USA Wrestling employee, I try to support our USA Wrestling athletes, and I always feel some type of way picking against them. So I'm going to take Julia.
Very fair. Cody, what about you?
No, I'm with you. I like Julia in this one. I know we were kind of curious where she was at competitive shape-wise before the show started, but she's a gritty competitor and she'll find a way to gut this one out. I would bet.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the next female match, Desiree Zavala. She's national team this year. She's got some All-American honors from WCWA's, and she also won 2019 US Open, I think. Anyway, so Desiree Zavala and then Jennifer Page. Jennifer is a 2013 Junior World Bronze medalist. She's kind of been riddled with injuries the last few years, but she did compete overseas, I think in Poland last year. And then she also competed at Senior Nationals in December and took 5th. So what do you guys think there?
I think it's a really interesting match. I think people forget about how good Jennifer Page is and was, because at a pretty young age, she was putting herself on national teams and competing with some of the best in the country. I think her and Adeline were roommates for a while at the O2C. But obviously Desiree is also, she's current national team member, so that kind of tells you what you need to know. She is top 3 in the country, and you don't get there by being a slouch, especially, while you're still in college wrestling. So I think it's tough to pick somebody here, but I think I'm going to take Zavala just because while Paige is still getting back to form, injuries are really tricky. And, I still don't think we've seen Paige at 100% of what she was before she had her injuries.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zavala too. Just we've seen where she's at, I think, more recently, and we know what kind of talent she brings. Although this could be a very interesting match for Paige as potentially like a springboard into, what's going to be the Olympic year, I guess, coming up. So very curious to see where she goes from here, but I like Zavala on Saturday.
All right, good enough. We got a couple All-Americans in the next match. Nick Neville's for Penn State, Jordan Wood for Lehigh. Mike would like to hear what you think here.
It's a tough one. They wrestled in college one time. Neville's won 2-0. I think it was 2018. Wood has the, international credentials, being cadet world silver medalist. But, I think there's got to be said for something to be said for Neville sticking around at the NLWC and continuing his wrestling career, because I don't think, the senior that gets, beat out for the spot, granted to the guy that wins the national title, you know, I think it takes a special type of person to say, I'm going to keep wrestling and I'm going to keep working on freestyle and, you know, do this. So I think I'm going to take Neville's just because, you know, the fact that he's stuck around and continued his wrestling career post-collegiately says a lot about him. I really like Jordan Wood though, and he's a really tough dude. And I think, again, he's someone, you know, in the next cycle that will be competing for Olympic teams. So I might even say I think Wood might have a higher ceiling than Neville's, but I think Neville's is going to be there right now.
Yeah, no, I'm going to take Wood. I think, you know, we talked about, you know, more athletic heavyweights and how they're kind of slowly infiltrating their way in. And I think Jordan Wood's a good example of that, especially in a matchup that's predominantly going to be wrestled on their feet. You know, I give Nick Neville's maybe the advantage when it comes to practice partners because, you know, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club, he's got Kirk Fleet, he's got Kyle Snyder, lots of really tough dudes in that room, obviously, that are pushing him. And but I think Jordan Wood gets him. I think it might come down to a late takedown in the second period, but I like Jordan Wood here.
Mike, you've already highlighted this next match, Kirk Fleet and Hamida. I'll just read off credentials. Kirk Fleet has a Cadet World Gold, Cadet World Silver, and then, like you said, he finished 5th at U23s last year, an absolute heartbreaking match. Hamida has a silver from 2018 U23s, and he's 2-time All-American. So, Mike, you kind of already highlighted this. Who's your pick here?
I'll take Kirk Fleet. I think the guy's on an upward trajectory, and I think he's going to be an Olympic champ someday. So I'm going to take Kirk Fleet.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Kirk Fleet. I you know, he's one of those guys that we talked a lot about when we think about the future of USA Wrestling, just the way he's performed at different age levels and, you know, being in the Penn State room. And I know when he originally was at Ohio State, it was because of Kyle Snyder, and then he went to Penn State because of Kyle Snyder. And so you got to imagine he's soaking up as much as he can while he can. So I like Kirk Fleet there, and I think it'll be pretty handily too.
Yeah. Next match, this one's also exciting. Thomas Gilman. This is someone I just love to watch wrestle, so I'm always excited anytime he's on the mat. Thomas Gilman against Darian Cruz. I think people always get excited for this matchup just because Cruz did beat him at NCAAs, but since then Thomas has beaten Darian. But anyway, Cody, we'll start with you. Thoughts and who you have winning this one?
Yeah, I like Gilman. He seems to have Cruz's number in freestyle. You know, it's just, again, different sort of tendencies, even though freestyle and folk style are pretty similar. You know, and I'm also just really excited to see Thomas he's been with Nittany Lion now for a few months. You know, I've listened to a few different interviews from him where he's talked a lot about his mindset, and he said he's been working on a few things. And, you know, I'm really kind of excited to see him, you know, finally compete after getting some Nittany Lion Wrestling Club coaching. And I just want to see how different he is and where he's at. And I think this will be a really good test for him.
Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Darian's a tough customer, but Thomas has shown that at least in freestyle, he's got the edge.
Fair enough. All right, so moving on to Cody's highlight match, Zane Rutherford versus Alex Pantalio. Zane's been on 2 senior world teams. He's got a cadet gold as well. Alec has been on the 2019 U23 world team, and he was on a junior world team in 2016. Cody, I'll let you take it away with this one.
Yeah, I like Zane. Probably should have given Pantalio a little bit more credit for his freestyle credentials than I did when we were first breaking down this match. But I guess in recent years, haven't seen as much of him as we have of Zane. Phrase it that way. I like Zane to win this match, but I think it'll be a lot closer and a lot more entertaining than people might think. So people really need to pay attention to this one, I think.
Agree with you there. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think Zane wins, but I think it's a good opportunity for Alec to show kind of what he's got and where he's at too. But I think Zane should handle this one.
Can you see this light freaking out, or is that just me?
I can see it, but it's not bothering.
It's not bothering you guys. I just want to I tried to flick it on and off. Right, moving forward. Jason Null versus David Mcfadden. Null, 3-time NCAA champ. He won his most recent competition was Pan Am's in March, where he won gold. And then Mcfadden's a American 2018 U23 World Team member. Null, obviously, for Nittany Lion, and Mcfadden's with the Penn RTC. So, Mike, that's close to home for you. I'll let you start with that one.
Well, I feel kind of guilty picking against McFadden here, because I also thought I gave the edge to Tommy Gant when they wrestled at Wrestling Underground. I thought Gant was going to win, and McFadden looked fantastic. That being said, Nolf. He's a transcendental wrestler. He's one of the best college wrestlers in the history of the sport. If McFadden beats Nolf, I will never pick against McFadden again, and I'll sincerely apologize to him. But I think for this match, I'm taking Nolf.
What do you think, Cody?
No, I think similar to Zane Pantalio, this one's going to be super interesting. We have seen McFadden, right? I mean, he looked really, really good at Wrestling Underground. I think a lot better than maybe a lot of us thought, but very hard to pick against Jason Null. So I'm going to go with him. But I think McFadden will give him some run and, might score a few takedowns. And I think it could be pretty interesting maybe in the second period.
Very cool. Kyle Snyder versus Mike Machiavello. Obviously, we know Kyle's a couple-time world champ and Olympic champ, couple-time world medalist. Machiavello, 2018 NCAA champ. He's on national team this year, and he also was silver at Full Thrill. So, Cody, what do you think about that one?
I like Snyder in this one. Similar to Gilman in that we get to see Snyder. I think he's already competed under Nittany Lion, but now we get to see him again. There's been some weird downtime with wrestling, but he seems to, at least based on his social media and what I have been following, he seems to have been taking advantage of the downtime as best as he can. So really excited to kind of see him come out. Excited to see Machiavello wrestle some freestyle. I know he was obviously his run to win an NCAA title was tremendous. And this is the barometer for him. Kyle Snyder's been a world medalist since forever, it seems like, right? Olympic gold, a couple of world titles, some bronze medals. So really excited to watch this one, but I do like Kyle Snyder. Hard to pick against that dude too.
Yeah.
Gotta go with Snyder. Love Mock, great guy, great wrestler who's really taking to freestyle pretty darn quickly. But when you put him against the best guy in the world, you can't pick against Captain America in this situation.
Right. So, what we're expecting to be the, I'll hold off on that one. Let's go through the other matches that we recently got today. We haven't had any time to really kind of compare notes or research these, so I'm just going to read off those matches, and you just tell me who you think will win. So, Vincenzo Joseph versus Dan Valamont. Dan Valamont also a Penn RTC guy. Mike, what do you think there?
I'll take Valamont. I think that might be considered an upset. It almost definitely is. But Valamont's on his swan song, basically. 2020 is going to be his last year, I think, or 2021, that is. And he's a super disciplined guy that lives the lifestyle. And I think he's going to go out there and he's going to surprise some people. So I'll take Valamont.
What are you taking?
I like Chenzo. Valamont's he's been around for a long time, and you don't stick around in the sport for a long time and have the success that he's had if you aren't good. But I think Chenzo, this could be a nice little, hey, you can compete on this senior level and beat some good dudes. And then, maybe that'll springboard him into, what's hopefully for him a fruitful freestyle career. So I like Chenzo.
Right. Exad Abdurrahmana versus Logan Massa. Cody, what do you think hearing this matchup for probably the first time today?
Yeah, I'm just really curious to see it. We get to see Logan Massa. It seems like it's been a while since we've seen him wrestle at full strength. And we know that he's super credentialed. And we get to see him against some international flavor, which I think will be, really good for him and really interesting for those of us who are watching. So I think I'll go with Logan Massa just because he's the known commodity for me. But very, very hesitant on that pick, but I'll stick to it.
Well, he had a great run at Senior Nationals in December, so, think you're all right with that pick there. All right, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Massa too. I mean, he had a whole year of Olympic red shirt. Went to some international tournaments. Won a tournament in Russia, I believe. Can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But he's a fantastic freestyler. And Bexad is fantastic in his own right. I mean, one of the few guys in the world that can say he's beat JB. I think he has a world bronze as well. So, I mean, the guy is absolutely established, but I think Massa is really coming into his own in freestyle. So I'll take him too.
This next one, Malik Amin versus Rick Durso. I'm going to assume, Mike, having had your hands on Rick Durso, you're going to maybe pick him for this one.
Yeah, what's the scouting report?
Yeah, give us the scoop.
Pick, Durso by double bar arm, which is not me. I mean, it was pretty terrible. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, I'll take Durso just because I want to salvage my reputation a little bit.
I'll go with Malik Amin. Really like a lot of the partners that he's had at the Cliff Keen room, and that's kind of it's not exactly Nittany Lion versus Cliff Keen in this duel, but there's enough matchups that's kind of the vibe at least going in. And I like Malik Amin. I've always liked the way he wrestled, and I'll pick him to win this one.
Then the final matchup is Dom Abinader and Jaime Espinal. Jaime from Puerto Rico, and Dom competes for Lebanon, but he's a Cliff King guy. And Jaime also trains Nittany Lion room. Him and Jane Valencia are actually married, so there's a connection there.
Right on.
All the hot goss. Anyway, so Cody, we'll start with you on that one.
I like Abinader, just the trajectory he's been on freestyle wise. And I think he gets it done here, and really excited to see him compete again. Because when it comes to his results, I don't always get to see them. I just read about how good he's been wrestling, and so this will be exciting for me personally to finally get to see him on the mat.
Totally, Mike. What do you think?
I'll take Espinal. He's a seasoned competitor. He's been at it for years, and he's just really darn good. And he's got the results to back it up. So that should be a good match, though. And again, I think that's kind of like another one up and comer versus a guy that's on the back half of his career. So should be interesting. I'll take Espinal.
It's hard to pick against an Olympic silver medalist, so I'm with you there, Mike. So the final matchup, the one that I'm sure has the wrestling world buzzing, is Bo Nickel, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club versus Alex Steringer, who recently moved to the Cliff Keen Wrestling Club. I think you guys probably know where I would stand on this, being an Oklahoma State alum and working most of my career with Alex, but I'm going to let you guys dive into this one.
You want to take it, Cody, or should I?
Oh, sure. I'll start. I mean, this is really interesting clash of styles, right? Because Ringer, one of those guys that he's very explosive, but also very fundamentally sound. And so just another guy he's hardly ever out of position. And literally he's probably one of the best in the world, but we hardly get to see it at the biggest stages because he's been behind Kyle Dake and Jordan Burroughs at 74. And then I guess Kyle Dake again at 79. And so now then you bring in Bo Nickel, who, another 3-time NCAA champ, who is going to have a shorter freestyle career because I know he wants to get into fighting. But from what we've seen, obviously super talented freestyle wrestler, can be funky at times, but another really explosive guy when he decides to get to his attacks. I feel like this is one of those matches where if Bo wins, it's like, well, yeah, it's Bo. But if Ringer wins, it's like, well, yeah, it's Ringer. There's really, I just hope there's a bunch of fireworks. But I do think Ringer comes out on top. I'll give Ringer the nod there.
I'm going with Bo, and it's almost entirely based on size for me, because I don't think Ringer is a full-fledged 86 yet. I think he took a loss to Miles Martin, and Martin's a fantastic wrestler in his own right, but I think Ringer is one of the best in the world at 79 kilograms, and I don't think he's fully filled into 86 yet. And I don't know if Nickel's planning on going 86 or 97 or what, but he's big. He was a U23 champ at 92 kilograms. So, if all things were equal, I really don't know who I would pick in this match. But I don't think I can pick against Bo Nickel, especially with, what I think is going to be a substantial size advantage.
And that's the kicker, right? We have no idea what the weights are for any of these matches or what the weigh-in procedure is. And like you said, there's still, Bo said that he's going 97 or he's competed at 97, so we can assume that, but hey, it's a whole new year now. Who knows what, if anything changes. So Yeah, I think that one's going to be a really fun matchup. And like you said, Cody, I just hope it's fireworks. I hope it's not, too defensive and too, because like you guys have mentioned, there's really nothing to lose in these matches. There's no seeding criteria here or anything like that. So yeah, really excited for both of these cards, and Wrestling World is going to have a full weekend. So again, the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club versus Cliff King Wrestling Club duel is on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's on Rockfin. Subscription is required, and you will have to be subscribed and following Nittany Lion Wrestling Club on there. So again, USA Wrestling will be covering these events. So you can check out results on our website, themat.com. And I just want to thank Cody and Mike for joining us today and just kind of breaking this down and giving us a little wrestling to chew on. So appreciate you guys.
Wrestling's coming back.
It's back. Oh, also, you might as well know, if you're an athlete watching this, preseason nationals registration is open now, as well as senior nationals. That's in October in Coralville, Iowa. So yeah, be sure to register and buy your membership. USAWmembership.com. So, all right. Thanks again, guys.